Welcome to episode 42 of Paris Playbook. Today we have our first swimmer on the podcast, Noelle Harvey of the Washington State women's swim team. In the works with some other swimmers, but nonetheless, you're the first one. So welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Alex. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to get some swimmers on. I have a lot of respect for the sport of swimming. I mean, I'm probably like everyone else. I only watch it during the Olympics, but I have a lot of respect for it. Um, in high school, my track coach was also the swim coach, and he'd make the track team do a swim practice every year. I thought it was the hardest thing ever. And all the swimmers who ran track were like, "Yeah, this is nothing. If you think this is hard, you'd have a nice time in actual swim practice." But that has given me respect for swimmers ever since having to do those swim practices for track and realizing that I am not a swimmer. So, when did you start competitively swimming?
I started competitively swimming back when I was 7.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think I did a bunch of sports. I did gymnastics and dance and did a little bit of track too. And my parents went, pick one. And I had the most friends in swimming, so I stuck with that.
So you didn't pick it because you were good at it initially. You picked it just because you had the most social side of it, I guess.
Yeah, the most enjoyment came from swimming.
At what point did you realize that you were actually good enough? Like, where hey, I can like if I work at this, I can make something out of this. I can continue on after school, college and everything.
I think probably right around 13, 14 years old, when at that age you start hitting cuts where you can go to certain meets. And I was hitting cuts that a lot of my friends weren't hitting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with this and see how far I can take it.
All right. So when did you start getting recruited?
Ooh, so in swimming, you start getting recruited after your sophomore year ends.
Okay. So it's
hmm
just like a 2-year recruiting window, junior and senior year, pretty much. Not like some of these other sports where coaches are looking at kids when they're in eighth grade or
Literally.
freshmen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, I never understood that. I don't really know how you can evaluate somebody when they're that young, but I think after your sophomore year, it's probably the best time to kind of determine. And nobody's ready to make decisions when they're too young either. I mean, even as a
Yeah, right.
junior or senior in high school, it's
I
hard
know.
enough. Was your decision pretty easy in choosing Washington State?
Yeah, it was pretty actually an interesting recruiting process because I was initially looking at Northwestern, University of Michigan, and Iowa. And so I took trips to those three the summer after my sophomore year and loved them. They were great. And ended up committing to Iowa. And then COVID hit and they absolutely just like banished their swim team. And Iowa said, decommit and find another school. And so that was brutal because that was going into my senior year. So now I was super late in the recruiting process. And so back into the portal I went, and Matt Leach, who's the head coach of the WCU women's swimming team, reached out to me and said, "Hey, sorry what happened in Iowa. Really interested in you. Do you want to come on a visit, see the school?" And immediately I was like, "Yeah, 100%." Because a lot of the schools were like, "Our roster's filled. I'm sorry, but we don't have a spot for you."
So you kind of got screwed over. I mean,
A little bit.
yeah, that sucks.
The way of
You were
COVID.
you were initially looking Midwest, and then you end up over on the West Coast for
Yeah,
your
that's
for
super
your.
interesting, right?
Yeah. So in year one and year two, you competed in 10 meets both years, and you had a lot of success, which we can get through some of those. But first, I mean, what was the hardest adjustment for you from you know pre-college swimming to college swimming?
It had probably it's got to be not being around my parents. It had its pros and its cons, but that first year for me was brutal. That and like how you establish a friend group back in high school in your hometown for, up to 18 years, and then to leave that and leave your state completely to somewhere I've never been. That was my first time in Washington. I don't even have family up here. So completely new environment and atmosphere and weather for me being from San Diego. So yeah, there was a lot of adjustments, but I'd say the hardest one was probably not being with my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard. I can say I know nothing about that because I went to college in the town I grew up and I lived at home all 4 years of college. So all these people talking about like making those adjustments, I can't relate at all because I never had to. People would talk about going home for Thanksgiving or Christmas break or something, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I've got a 10-minute drive." Like, I don't know what you mean. um, so your first college meet, you had a win and a second, and pretty successful. Did you come in with big expectations? Like, hey, I want to get multiple wins, or did you kind of go in with an open mind? Let's just see how this happens. What was your mindset going in?
So that meet was super exhilarating actually, because that was my first college meet, because the other two before that, because I came in competing in the third meet of our season, I had a concussion. So I didn't compete in those first two meets. So again, versus Arizona was my first one. And no expectations. I swam the 1,000. First time swimming the 1,000, my coach put me in it and was like, just give it a go. Probably sold my soul to distance there, winning that 1,000. But we ended up winning that meet against Arizona by like 2 points, which is the first time we've ever beat Arizona in program history. And it was just like in awe, of that meet.
Do they have an outdoor pool?
Yeah, Zona's an outdoor pool, but WCU is indoor.
Okay. Have you swam many meets at outdoor pools versus, or most of them indoor?
No, I'd say college is mostly indoors. Um, like for champ meets and stuff, because we head over to Texas and then we head over to Federal Way for Pac-12s. But growing up in San Diego, everything was outdoors.
Do you have a preference between outdoor and indoor meets?
I like indoor meets. They feel more like professional.
Yeah, right. Because
Mhm.
I mean, that's what all of the world competitions. It's
Yep.
all indoor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that. Also, in your first 2 years, you were on a couple school record-setting relay teams. That had to have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was super, super fun. I mean, it's fun setting individual records, but I'd say it's even more exciting setting the relay records, because you're part of a team that does it, and that means all four girls on that relay have to work their butts off all year. So it's like a collective group effort in that sense. But yeah, it's nice to have my name up on that record board, and hopefully I'll participate in a couple more this year.
Yeah. It's more difficult too. I mean, everyone's got to have a good day. If one person has a bad day, for setting an individual record, you just have to have a good day yourself. Once you have that
Mhm.
relay, you got to hope everyone else has a good day too. So,
It's pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like you said, lot of pressure, which is kind of the name of the game for college athletics, pressure.
Yeah, pressure
Was
is
that
privilege.
was that hard to adjust to? Kind of difference in like pressure from high school to Division 1 athletics?
Yeah, and I'll say in swimming, it's interesting because this sport and also track and field and a couple other sports, they're they're very individualistic. And so in high school and in club and 18 and under type stuff, when you go to meets as a kid, it's just you. Like your club team is kind of competing for points and stuff, but you're not looking at a team score. Versus in college, dual meets, that's all points. So that was actually pretty interesting to adjust to too, because you go from being like, I need to swim fast and I need to focus on myself, to let me get my teammate going because I need to help them score points to beat this team.
Yeah, that's a complete. I mean, so clubs basically just, hey, everyone's trying to get recruited for college and
Yeah.
looking out for themselves. And then you get to
Mhm.
college and it's like, oh wait, you're on a team. Don't forget that. Like
Yeah.
that's that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's not great for the sport. Like to prepare athletes, maybe if there was a little bit more of a team focus, it could help with transition into college a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Some clubs, depending on what club you're in, there's clubs, all over the US, but some do a really good job of that. Some do, team bonding activities and mimic the college atmosphere. And there are other teams that solely focus on one little superstar swimmer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that's the way it is in quite a few sports across, club athletics. You
Mhm.
have different teams and different coaches that have different goals. One coach, it might mean more to them if they get one of their players to a big Division 1 school, like, hey, my swimmer or my track athlete is running at this school instead of, or our team won this meet. So
Yeah, exactly.
depends on what the coach's values are too. You also had, speaking of personal times, had some top 10 school times. I mean, like you said, you kind of had no expectations for that first meet. So once you started having success, that had to have been a huge, just like kind of confidence booster, morale booster, motivation moving forward, the whole works.
Yeah, those top 10 times are pretty fun because it's like in each event, um, you have 10 times throughout WC swimming history, and those are it's like you're so close and you can see your progress and you can see yourself like work up that ladder as you get to a school record.
And is that a goal of yours? Keep working
That
up
is
that ladder?
100%, that's a goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess one other thing to mention with your first 2 years is the Team USA, the World University Games. I mean, that's pretty exciting being part of Team USA in any sense, getting to represent your country, and USA swimming's got such a storied history across world
Mhm.
competition. So how did you end up with that? I mean, was that something that you got selected for, or did you have to? So you got selected for it?
Mhm. Yeah, so that whole process was pretty crazy because I've never heard of that meet up until the the end of my sophomore year when my coach came up to me and was like, "Hey, I think that maybe the USC head coach was the head of this trip, and he was reaching out to a couple other Pac-12 schools to try to draw some Pac-12 attention to it. Um, and he said, Matt, my coach, Matt, do you have any swimmers that would like to travel to China for the World University Games?" And he chose me and Emily Lundgren, who's a wicked fast teammate of mine, also came, and also from San Diego. So I have a lot of history with her. So it was fun to travel with her. But spent the whole summer training for that. Um, and I mean that has to be my like the highlight of my career right there is probably representing Team USA in China, which is I got a passport for this trip. So I mean it was a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, of course, that'd be the highlight of your career. Everyone wants to put, whatever country, you want to put your country's logo, your name on the uniform and represent. I mean, for that meet, you are what the USA is putting out there for competition. So it's got to make you feel good, and you get to travel, like you said, over to China for a meet, and you're competing against swimmers from all over the world. I mean, it's a different type of competition. I mean, I know there's swimmers from overseas that come swim D1, but it's still not the same as when you're swimming completely against other nations.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty scary, I'm gonna be honest with you. That definitely got the butterflies in my stomach churning, seeing not like college caps around me, but different countries was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. That had to, I can't imagine that the butterflies from that compared to like a college meet. There'd be a lot of butterflies for that, but now we're taking it to a whole nother level.
Nah, and that meet also like I'm super grateful for because it put a lot of my other races back here in college in perspective. I'm a really nervous racer, so um being at that meet and being at that like peak pressure moment makes my dual meets feel easy and relaxed and like I can finally breathe for once.
Yeah, that's perfect. So it helped in a few ways. You got this amazing life experience, and then it kind of sets you up for the rest of your college career. Did you get to do any sightseeing, or was it pretty much all business?
So mostly business until the meet was over. And then we went to a couple of shopping malls. We saw the giant pandas, which was super cool. Um, and then just rode around kind of in their tram, their train, their underground subway, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. At least get to see a few things and while you're over there.
Yeah,
So this year, how is it going so far?
it's going pretty good. We are now three dual meets in, I think. And we have midseason next month at Texas A&M. And that's going to be a super interesting meet because we got long course in the morning because it's an Olympic year. So in an Olympic year for swimming, everything changes, and that's the one thing I'm going to say. Um, in swimming is that it's funny because the rest of the world does long course meters. What you watch on the Olympics, that's called long course meters. But all of college swimming is short course meters. I mean, sorry, short course yards. Um, and so a lot more of the meets that we go to are long course meters because a lot of swimmers are trying to get their Olympic trial cuts.
Hmm, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Learning something new here about swimming that
Yeah,
I didn't know. Yeah, I just watch swimming and like, oh, they're swimming in a pool and they're racing. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
so all of your meets aren't. Some of them are still like normal, and then some of them are this long course. Like it's kind of, was it 50-50 or 75-25? If you had to kind of like guess.
I would say in an Olympic year, it's probably 50-50.
Okay. Do you prefer it one way or the other?
Ooh, so I do freestyle and backstroke. I prefer freestyle short course and I prefer backstroke long course.
Okay. So
Yeah,
if you could swim one event one way always and one the other way, that'd be the perfect world.
yeah, that'd be great. Just switch the pool for me mid meet and
Yeah.
I'll be good.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, maybe someday they'll have the technology where they can extend the pool and shrink the pool, or I don't know.
I know, wouldn't that be pretty cool?
That would be kind of neat if they could. I'm sure in the future they'll have the technology where they could do something like that. I feel like it's feasible. It'd be a lot of money. It would cost a lot of money to have the technology to do that. But I feel like if a bunch of engineers got together, there would be some way where if the pool expanded, then they could add more water. They like if they had tanks on the side, and then the pool shrunk, then they drain that water out or something. I don't know.
Maybe
um,
you should invent that.
I don't know. I'm just a forester. I don't really know. I went to an engineering school, but not for engineering. So, you know, if that means anything, really doesn't. But what about goals for the rest of the year? Do you have some goals that you want to achieve this year personally or in your team?
Um, yeah, I'd love to set an individual school record. That's a big goal of mine. I'd love to go to NCAA's. It's very competitive for swimming in NCAA's because you're hypothetically taking the top 40 in every event um in a pool of 2,000 collegiate swimmers. That's pretty challenging and most of those
Yeah,
people are Olympic
that's
hopefuls, so it's pretty wild.
yeah.
And I also want to like as a team, we have a team goal of getting a relay to NCAA's as well. and that's a little funky because you have to have 4 people individually qualify for NCs. So that's a bigger goal, I'd say. But honestly, at face value, my goal every year is to just improve my time.
Yeah.
If I can get faster, even 0.01 faster, that means I changed something from my last race to this race and I did something better. So if I drop in my events, that's an accomplished year for me.
Yeah. Hey, improvement's improvement. Doesn't matter how
Mm-hmm.
much it is. It's improvement. Like you said, it means you're doing something different. Something was working. And
Yeah.
then, if you can figure out what that was, then you can improve more. What's your most memorable? I know you said that the going to China was a super memorable moment, but if we just look at like your college meets so far, what's been your most memorable moment?
I'll tie back to earlier in the conversation when you were talking about that meet versus Zona. Beating them for the first time in program history was pretty epic. Um, and hopes you do that again. And then also we have a postseason meet for kids that don't go to NCAA's, and it's called NICs. And we swam on the last day, the last relay, the 400 relay, went the school record at PAX, and then went to school record at that meet again and beat it again, which was insane because usually that meets you're a little broken down, you're a little tired, like
Yeah.
so. And then we won it too on top of that, so that was pretty crazy too.
Yeah. No, that does sound really crazy. Like you said, like you usually for like that last meet, you'd be kind of burnt out, not
Yeah, yeah.
smashing
After your
records
champ
or
meet,
yeah. Um, what's your favorite thing about Washington State as a school? Not necessarily in an athletic sense.
yeah. So Washington State and the town of Pullman is a college town. It's not a commuter school. It is a college town. And every store, we call it downtown Pullman. Every store, the Walmart, everything around it is Coug centered. And there's a huge fan base that just comes in for football games and other sporting events too. And we have a like if someone says go Cougs in the airport, you say go Cougs back. So it's a very like family and fan orientated school.
So the community pretty much revolves around the university 100%.
100%. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I mean, that's great for athletics. Like the
Yeah.
support being there
Yeah.
helps. I would say that's a draw for athletes to want to go there. A lot of athletes want to be a part of a school that has a great backing in the community. So that's definitely a good pull. Um, Last thing kind of about swimming before we talk about a few other random things is I never realized how long the college season is, going from September and then NCAA's aren't until March. I mean, that pretty much spans the entire college. I mean, most people graduations are in April. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much for the entirety of college, the whole school year, you're competing and practicing and swimming. So that's got to be kind of hectic with classes and studying and all of that. I mean, you got to get pretty good at time management skills.
Yeah, 100%. That's how it is in high school too. So that's a good carryover skill into college for a lot of swimmers. But yeah, 100%. It goes pretty much all year long, and then you have meets in the summer. So you're swimming in the summer, so all year long. And it's funny because I have friends on other sports, and they're like, "Oh, when is swimming in season?" And they go all year. Like you can come to any meet from September when we have our inter squad meet to March. Like you can watch anytime.
So you better love it because you're doing it
Yeah.
year round.
Yeah.
So you mentioned football and a lot of fans going to football. Have you been to quite a few of the football games?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those have to be pretty fun.
Yeah, those are super fun. It gets really loud in there. The student section is always packed. We have good fans, very supportive fans, and it's one of like our highlights that we take our recruits to, and we'll take them down on the field, and they get to watch all the players run out and the cheerleaders and the dance team, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Washington State's always one of the better programs in the country. They're always very competitive. So it
Mhm.
had a tough loss last weekend.
I
Um,
know.
I didn't expect that. I don't know. I don't
Oh, me neither.
though. I mean, they have they have one other loss. Yeah, they lost to somebody else too, I think. I can't remember. But I mean, beating Wisconsin and beating Oregon State and some of those, it was like, hey, this team's legit. And then I never expected Arizona to beat them. So
I know. That was pretty wild, but those two wins were big. And then on top of that, we stormed the field those two games. So that's another thing I'd add to those football games is like
yeah.
again, good fan support.
Well, there's still a lot of football left. If the Cougars can run the table, there's still plenty of upside for a good bowl game. They have a lot of talent
Mm-hmm.
on the football team. So quarterback Cam Ward, he's pretty good. So I definitely things to be hopeful for as a Washington State fan. Um, what's your favorite non-swimming sport?
Um, let's see. Ooh, surfing. Um,
Okay.
I know, super like specific and pretty like pretty out there, but if I always say that if I was not a competitive swimmer, I would surf as my sport. I wouldn't say I'm very good at it, but I love surfing. It's my happy place. So I love like if I could take a class or something during the summer, sign me up 100%.
Yeah. Surfing's cool. I mean,
Mhm.
there's some people who surf over in Michigan and like the Great Lakes. They'll
Yeah.
surf in like November, late October when the weather's starting to change. They have to put on a wetsuit because the water's
Mhm.
freezing, and then they'll go surfing, which is kind of neat. I'm sure it's a different kind of surfing than out in California.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what kind of music do you like?
I like all music. I will literally listen to everything from rap to Broadway, like polar opposites. But I think my walkout song has been Barracuda by Heart for the past like 5 years now. So love that song.
So, swimmers have a walkout song?
You put it in your headphones when you're walking out from the ready room.
Oh, okay.
So kind of a walkout song, not like baseball or
Yeah,
anything
that's
like
what I
that.
was
But
thinking of, like when I come up to the home plate and they got
yeah,
their song. That'd be cool if they did that for swimmers, though.
they some meets they do. Some meets when I was little, they would in a prelim final meet let the top seed going into finals pick the song they wanted to walk out of the ready room to with all
Yeah.
8 swimmers, and so kinda, but
Does the swim team put on like a playlist in the locker room before a meet, or does everyone kind of do their own thing?
yeah, 100%. We have a loud speaker in our locker room that plays music during meets and after practices. Um, and then we also have one made by athletics that we play on deck before our meets too.
So what's the vibe in the locker room playlist? Is it rap pretty much?
It's a little bit of everything because I took everyone's top two favorite songs my freshman year and put it into a playlist so that if someone really wants to just listen to some Hamilton, then Hamilton is going to come on. And the opposite. If someone really likes Drake, Drake's going to come on. So very,
Okay.
very diverse playlist.
Yeah, I like that. I told in a couple episodes ago, my goal was to find a team that doesn't listen to rap, specifically a team that listens to country as their warm up, because I think that would just be kind of funny. just like strictly country. Like that's our warm-up playlist is just country. There's got to be a school down in the south somewhere. There's got to be one out of every
In the
college in the
South.
country. Down in the south,
Yeah.
there's got to be someone. So I just make it a point. I've got to ask every athlete now what the vibe is. Most of them it's just pure rap. So the fact that
Oh,
you guys are diversified, that I like that.
yeah. There's some country in there too, for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's nice to cater to everyone. I mean, there when you have a team of different people from all over the place, everyone's got different tastes. So not everyone's gonna vibe with the same kind of music. So if you've got a wide
Yeah.
mix, then everyone's kind of at least gonna get something they like.
Yeah. So true.
Are you big into movies or TV?
Um, Actually, I'm just about done with Ted Lasso, so that's where I'm at in my TV watching.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Heard it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's a really great show about leadership and team development and optimism and the morale of belief. So
Yeah,
I try to learn as much as I can from him.
probably not a lot of free time though to be watching TV between classes and swimming
Yeah,
and yeah. Not
recovery, sleep.
what's your favorite food?
Favorite food is probably um oh, I love a good fried rice. Literally
Okay.
anything Chinese, Japanese. I
Yeah.
love pho. Um, but yeah, anything in the Asian cuisine is delicious.
So you were happy when you went over to China on the food side?
Yeah, 100%. I was super stoked when the meet ended and we can go out and venture into the outside of the village and sit down and try some like really really authentic Chinese food.
Yeah. Yeah. Had to have been a lot different than most of the stuff you get in the States.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was better though. It was better.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure it was. Um what about like as a team, do you guys have pre-meet meals?
Yeah, so our nutrition staff here at WSU is really hands-on with the sports team, especially swimming. We have a nutritionist just for swimming. His name's Tyler, and he's great. He covers nutrition and health and immune stuff, and comes and talks to us after practice. And he's a great guy, really good at his job. But we have an athletes dining hall, if you may, called the Grey Dub, and they'll we get breakfast, lunch and dinner from there, as an athlete, and their food is pretty high quality.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's kind of neat that you guys have a nutritionist just for your team. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. I haven't had any other athletes. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other colleges that have them, but nobody else has mentioned that as a perk. So that's definitely pretty neat. Well, Noelle, thanks for coming on the podcast, being the first swimmer representing the Cougs of Washington State University.
Heck yeah, go Cougs. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Yeah, of course.